Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex Montes, and today we're going to be taking some community questions about emotional intelligence, career, and a few other things. Question number one is, how do you balance being a YouTuber and being a dad? That's a loaded question. You know, the short answer is that I prioritize the things that matter to me. Absolutely, my daughter goes first. So I try to spend some time with her in the morning. The very first thing I do every day is spend some time with my daughter. And I also try to spend some time with her at night. I try to do that every day, 7 days a week. Sometimes, you know, I have to travel, sometimes I have some work, but for the most part, once a day I see her. Now that my daughter has some prioritization, it's up to me to then figure out how to fit in everything else. So what I do is I have at least 5 things that are important to me on an everyday basis. Some of those are job related, some of those are health related, some of those are relationship related. And I try to, you know, knock out 5 of those things on an everyday basis. Now that I do YouTube has become one of those 5 things. So every day I try to do at least one thing related to YouTube, whether that is doing some research, whether that is doing a video, editing. Those are some of the things that I do each and every day. And there are some people that bash things, or like they take one day to do a bunch of things. But for me, this is what works. A little bit each and every day. Question number 2 is, why did you go into marketing? Well, why not? As I recall, the main reason I went into marketing was that I was in a career that wasn't satisfying for me. At the time, I used to love this show called Mad Men. A lot of you may be familiar with it. I remember watching the main character, Don Draper, being in an advertising agency. In this agency, his job was to sell ideas. Not really sell a product, sell ideas of what the product should be communicated as. And for me, that was magnificent. I was at my job and I was really thinking about projects and project management and numbers and I mean, I actually enjoy those things, but at a high level, I really enjoy selling ideas, which is what I get to do now that I do marketing. I really enjoy the fact that some of the products that I put out there may help other people. That all came about because I watched Mad Men 10 years ago or however long it was. That's the reason I became a marketer. Question number 3 is, how can you convince somebody to hire you even if they don't have the right qualifications? It is tough to convince anybody, even if you are qualified, but I think I would go about it in 2 ways. So point number 1 is to really think through what are the things that you do on a day-to-day basis that relate to the job. And you will be surprised, right? You will be surprised that, you know, your hobbies, things that matter to you. For example, for me, watching TV was one of the things that allowed me to get a job actually for a video app. And I think that all of us have things that somehow, some way relate to almost any job. Point number 2 is to really think about who you are interviewing with, or the people, if there are many, that you're interviewing with, and try to figure out early on in the interview what matters to them and then hone in on that. So I'll give you an example. I knew that my boss, my current boss, he's very interested in data. And that was something that, as I was reading his LinkedIn profile, as I was reading his own experience in the past, I had a feeling that was the case. But when I showed up to the interview, he said a few things that, you know, that talked about how he liked using data and how he liked doing A/B tests and how he did that in his prior job, or almost 10 years ago, I think. And for me, that was a clue that that was something that was important to him. So I would highlight it a little bit more than other people that, you know, that are more interested in like interpersonal relationships or even leadership, right? Like I have been in interviews where the very first question has been is, so have you managed teams? Or, you know, what do you look for in a hire? And then I understood that's what that person cared about. The next question is, what sparked your interest in emotional intelligence? There are many things that sparked my interest in emotional intelligence, but the main one is that very early on, as a young person or young child, I want to say, I moved to the United States. And, you know, I was an immigrant that moved from Dominican Republic. And in Dominican Republic, I was a really good student. I had some of the top grades in my school. I, you know, performed very well in my classes. And because of that, you know, I did very well with my parents. I did very well with my teachers and things like that. But when I moved to the United States, and I had to learn English, and I had to learn a new language, and I had to learn customs, I quickly understood that being smart wasn't enough. And I knew that because even though I didn't speak English when I first moved here, I would do very well on my tests. And even though I didn't speak English, I actually figured out ways in which I could write really good essays. And even though that was the case, because I wasn't communicating well with my peers, because I wasn't really communicating well with my teachers, at least those first few months, things were very difficult for me. And I was getting extremely frustrated. I understood that I needed to do two things. I needed to regulate myself a little bit better. I needed to stop getting frustrated, and I needed to just start listening and taking action on the feedback that I was getting. And point number two, really start seeing how people were reacting to me, how people were reacting to my ideas. And those are the two core tenets of emotional intelligence. So that was when I figured out I needed to just get better at things that weren't just getting grades or been doing really good at school. And the minute that happened, I started looking into resources to help me with that, whether that was books or YouTube videos or whatnot, and I have been doing so ever since. What's the best single career advice you've ever received? I think the absolute best advice is go where you are celebrated, not where you're tolerated. I think that many of us sometimes really want to go into places or really want to go into companies or jobs where we feel we're going to be better off because they are a nice brand, they're a nice company, they're really well known. And what I realized is that a lot of those companies, a lot of those places, because they have so many people interested in them, they really are not treating employees very well, or you're just like a cog in a very big system. And I think for me, going to places where that was the case has not really worked out. I wasn't able to be differentiated, and I just didn't have other people really pulling for me. Whereas every time that I've gone to places, and whether that is a big or a small company, where I found that the company recruited me, I found that the company recognized my talent, recognized my skills, I felt that I always did better. I felt that I enjoyed my day-to-day a little bit better. And because I had support from other people, I felt I would even try it harder because I didn't want to let them down. So for me, that is something that is very important. Go to places, not just at work, by the way, just in honestly any environment that you are in. Make sure that you're in an environment where you're celebrated, where people really care about you, where people really want your contribution. And I guarantee you that, the rest is just gonna solve itself out. What is your favorite book? And what is the impact this book had in your life? My favorite book is called John Livingston Seagull. And it is a book about this seagull that wanted to be the fastest flying seagull in the whole world. And the book starts with this person the seagull trying as hard as possible to fly. But seagulls are not designed to fly fast. They're designed to really hover above sea or hover really close to the ground in order to hunt. But this seagull did not believe that that's what they had to do. This seagull believed that they can be more than what they were designed for. In the process, I became very, very inspired by this book, right? Or by what this little seagull was trying to do. But then the other half was that as the seagull got better and better and faster, the other seagulls that were in his tribe started really ostracizing him, started actually saying bad things to him, and eventually kicked him out of his tribe. And then I understood two things. First, you really can fight to do something better, to do something bigger. And that is something that I really believe in me, and that is something that I live on an everyday basis. But number two, not everybody is going to be okay when you do that. In fact, most people are going to fight you, and that is okay. You are going for bigger and better things. And this book was amazing. I read it when I was 8 years old. I'm actually gonna leave the link in the bio, and I recommend you read it as well. Are there aspects of emotional intelligence that you struggle with? Oh, I think this is a good question. I think I practice emotional intelligence because I struggle with it. If it came easy to me if I didn't have to think about it, I don't think I would have to study it so hard. So that's number one. I think all of us struggle with emotional intelligence, but definitely especially me. And because of that, I know that I have to be very conscious about it, and I try to practice it more often. Now, if I have to say, I think I am a little bit better at communicating or relating to other people. I think I have high levels of empathy, and I really care about people in a natural manner. So that is not something that I have to work on when it comes to emotional intelligence. Rather, really being kinder to myself, being more compassionate about what's going on in my life and how I don't achieve a goal in a certain time frame. I should give myself a little bit more grace. That is something that I'm working on, and hopefully I'll be better at it. But truth to be told, it's something that I have to work on an everyday basis. Next question, and this is my favorite one. What is the coolest thing you've ever done with your knowledge of emotional intelligence? I have to say, I don't know if I've built a building or wrote a book yet. However, the best thing I've done with this knowledge is raise my daughter. I think that being a dad who's conscious about empathy, who's conscious about respecting other people's feelings, and wanting my daughter to be successful in a way that makes her happy is something that that I feel like in my family at least is revolutionary. Is something that I didn't hear growing up. The emphasis on happiness and not just success. And I'm excited to hopefully share some of these things with my daughter. So Penelope, if you ever watch this video 20 years from now, I always think about you, and I hope that you are an emotionally intelligent person. The very last question: how do you decide to leave a job you like for a better opportunity? First things first is the definition of opportunity is different for each and every person, right? What do I mean by that? For example, I tend to really look for places and opportunities that allow me to learn. If I like my current job, but I'm not learning, I may move, I may quit, and I've done that in the past. It's not just about money for me, or the environment. I think for me, I really prioritize learning. A lot of people that are close to me actually prioritize stability. So if you have an amazing opportunity that gives you more money or gives you more status, if you lose that stability and that is something you value, you probably don't need to go to this job. So the best way for me to answer this is really think through what it is that matters to you, and then from there, make the decision whether that is an opportunity or not. And if the other place has things that you really value in higher quantities, then I recommend you go for it. And if not, then stay put. So we reached the end of this video. I have 2 more videos related to this. So if you like this conversation, I have a video regarding risks and how to take better risks that you should definitely take a look. Also, there's another video on being more self-aware. I'm gonna link to them somewhere here and somewhere here. Yeah, hope to talk to you soon. If you like this content, like, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon.